Hey everyone! Gaia is currently away due to a medical emergency and isn't able to record. So, episodes 14 and 15 won't feature Lyralyn. Instead, I'll be hosting. I'm Esme, and I play the role of Catalina, or Cat. I hope you all enjoy.
Hey guys!
Mars? What? You came through the door?
Yeah? Why?
Rowan told us that they left you with Jean-eating snacks.
Oh, cheated.
So, how did you take the door then?
I went back for some snacks. Jean started going on about this big plan, so I thought I had some free time.
Oh dear God.
Guys, maybe we should go check that out?
Please. No, I don't have the mental energy for this.
Are we just gonna leave him? You guys know what happened last time, right? Lyralyn, back me up here. Oh, yeah. Sorry, your throat's hurting, I forgot.
Sounds safer.
Okay. I guess we have enough to deal with. That's a later problem, I guess. Also, Mars, give me those! You aren't supposed to have more snacks at 3 a.m. Your doctor said so.
Wait, no, my snacks!
Mars.
Ugh. Fine.
Thank you. I'll give them back tomorrow, promise.
So, back to the present. Rowan, what's up?
Right. After our discussions of morality, good versus evil, and what exactly counts as ethical in the library, I thought I would tell you about a favorite story of my own. So, welcome to the intense section of the library. These stories are often about violence, destruction, and other violent matters.
Violence. Right. Cool. So we're going into the deep end, learning about some insane shit again?
Basically, yes.
How intense are we talking? Last time this happened, I nearly died.
And then you became obsessed with nearly dying again.
I wasn't obsessed. I was trying to figure out what happened to me. You didn't just almost get unwritten without a reason. I needed answers. And okay, I did get some pretty solid medical text out of it.
So what I'm hearing is that you nearly died and then decided to stay longer to study it.
If the library tried to erase me once, I need to understand why before it happens again. So Rowan, why this story?
Well, I can't promise it will explain your dilemma, but maybe it will shed some light. Now, I want to focus our discussion of morality on information. Why knowledge matters and why people fight so fiercely over who controls it. Morality isn't just about good and evil. It's also about truth and lies, knowledge and ignorance. That's why the Serpent's Hand opposes censorship so strongly.
And that means...
Because when you mess up, the first thing that burns is knowledge. And today, we will talk about the killing of a god. In Section 7, Mephistopheles Pluteion of the Wanderer's Library, a sudden rush of air causes the pages of a book, laid open on a wooden table, to ruffle. People present in the reading hall of Section 7 Mephistopheles Pluteion turned to look at the direction of the breeze, and saw that a way had opened on the far wall and sucked air within itself. Their faces twisted into an expression of horror and panic as a sudden realization dawned on them. They were all going to die. There was a silent beat as everything fell quiet and still. Then, chaos broke out. The space was filled with a loud groan and then a boom, as the wave violently collapsed, sending another wave of uncontained magical energy rushing forwards. Wood splintered and books were torn apart by the savage strength of the pulse, sending pages and dust flying everywhere. The first person to get hit by the wave was immediately turned to stone, which was then shattered by it. Another simply blinked out of existence, while the third was turned inside out. After the wave dissipated, the only thing left intact was a single docent, standing in the middle of the destroyed room. Wordsmith Mason, one of the most powerful mages specializing in concept magic within the Wordsmith Guild, was leaning against a wood railing, keeping an eye on the people below, when she heard the explosions. One after another, they echoed through the halls of the library, some coming from afar, others from somewhere close by. Others heard it too, and in a fraction of a second, the comforting static of the library was replaced with disorienting panic. People who had previously just been minding their own business began to move. Some people ran towards the ways in hopes of escaping to another reality. Some ducked for cover, while others just ran around panicked, unsure of what to do. A family of tarmongers huddled together and secreted a quickly hardening liquid, creating a quick shelter for themselves. On the floor below, a puff singer swelled to 10 times its original size, pushing aside and knocking people over, and bookcases. In a natural reaction of fear, of course.
Come back here, Salvador, you stupid bird!
This was shouted by an elderly goblin, running after a panicking falcon of some sort.
Everybody, stay away from the ways!
Her warnings got lost with the chaos. Cursing to herself, she ran off in hopes of finding another wordsmith who could tell her what was happening. Continuing her search, Mason headed towards a narrow corridor, a decision which she came to regret only moments later, as a tide of people heading the other direction reached it at the same time, forcing Mason to push through the current of bodies, making next to no progress. Trying to get past, the people pushed her from side to side, surrounding her from all directions, and completely obscuring her view. Her breathing became labored, shallow, and uneven, as she felt anxiety raising its ugly head within her chest. Her heart felt as if it skipped a beat at every explosion. Then, there was a sharp pain, caused by a wooden spike slicing through her cheek, as the left side wall of the corridor exploded outwards, causing splinters to fly like shrapnel. The next thing to hit was the shockwave, which threw her off her feet, sending her flying towards the opposite wall. Her head hit the wood, and then there was blackness. When she opened her eyes again, the first thing she saw was the familiar red cloak of a fellow wordsmith. They had many arms and were saying something, but she couldn't hear any words through the shrill ringing in her ears. Even the explosion sounded distant, muffled. The red glow of the docent hung heavily in the air, as they inspected the dead bodies sprawled throughout the corridor.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Her voice was dry and speaking hurt her throat. There was a pulsating sensation in her head, and she could feel her robe sticking to her skin, wet with blood. She didn't want to think who it belonged to.
Can you walk?
I think so.
Okay. All right, let's go.
She tried taking a step, but lost her balance and lurched forward, being caught by another wordsmith.
Whoa, easy now.
They led her through the corridor to the next room, a reading hall. They set her sitting on a comfortable, green sofa before beginning to chant various healing spells to stitch her wounds and clear her head. She felt the sounds rapidly rushing back to her as her vision cleared and the room stopped spinning. A sudden, very audible explosion somewhere caused her to jump slightly. She thanked the other wordsmith, took a few deep breaths, and a moment to gather her thoughts before turning towards them.
What's the situation? What is happening?
A universe is collapsing.
Mason was dumbfounded. It was common for the Wanderer's Library to close off ways leading to dimensions that were corrupted, empty, or otherwise extremely dangerous towards the library and its patrons, but those ways still existed. They were simply just inaccessible. A collapsing universe was a different beast entirely, as it caused the connected ways, the bridges and pathways between dimensions to physically snap in half, which agitated the space between dimensions, causing it to release rogue waves of uncontrolled magical energy to rush through the remains of the way, like a final outtake of air after the body is already dead. An event like this was extremely rare, and the last time it happened, it had been 1,000 years.
How many ways are connected to it? How much longer will this last?
I don't know, but I do know that the universe in question was large and populated, so probably a lot. If this goes on for much longer, it could cause some serious damage to the library. People will continue to die.
Do you know why the universe is collapsing?
No, I don't.
So there's a chance that it could potentially be stopped from doing that?
Yeah, I guess so? Where are you getting at with this?
I think you know. One last question. Does the universe have a foundation?
Oh, you can't be serious!
Ten minutes later, Mason was standing in front of a way, which, for the moment, was still stable. She whistled the first few chords of Judy Garland's Over the Rainbow, fulfilling the knock assigned to the way and opening it. Her magical sixth sense felt the way beginning to destabilize as a result, so she closed her eyes and reached out with her mind. It traveled into the way and slipped past the physical reality, into the world of concepts. She grabbed the concept with the way in her mind, feeling it writhe and scream in her grasp like an angry snake.
You are away. You are stable.
It wouldn't last long, though, so without another thought or word, she pulled her mind back and walked through. Upon arrival on the other side, she found herself standing in the middle of a fountain, which, in part, was in the center of a market square, which seemed to be in the middle of a large metropolitan city. Somewhat surprisingly, everything seemed normal at first. Then she looked at the sky. Like oil mixed with water, it was dotted with patches of ugly, shifting colors that mixed in with each other, causing unnatural swirl patterns to appear. In other parts, it looked as if the sky had broken, with stars and the void between them being fully visible in the middle of the day. The stars, which were visible as a cause of this, were blinking out, one after another, like candles snuffed out in the dark. Mason saw a storm cloud form in a literal second, strike a building with lightning and set it on fire, and then disappear in the blink of an eye, as if it was never even there. On the side street, gravity seemed to suddenly stop working. Police, fire, and ambulances were practically everywhere, bravely attempting to deal with a situation that was light years beyond their capabilities. Knowing the Foundation had a tendency of infiltrating emergency services, she promptly walked up to a roadblock, which prevented people from venturing into an area which appeared to have become a static vacuum.
Ma'am, I'm gonna have to ask you to...
I want to speak with the Foundation.
Excuse me? What's your name? Who are you?
Wordsmith Mason Gale from the Wanderer's Library. I have knowledge that may help you understand what's happening, or even stop it.
Follow me. I'll take you to the Foundation.
No time. Tell me the exact location of the nearest Foundation site that you know to have knowledge of this catastrophe.
Shit. Fine.
Mason closed her eyes again. This time, her mind branched off in different directions within the world of concepts and grabbing 3 at a time. The first one was the concept of location. Something so broad and powerful was practically impossible to move on its own, but she forced her mind to dig deeper into it and connect to the concepts of her and the officer. Following this, she dragged the concepts relative to each other so that when she opened her eyes, they were standing in the middle of a corridor with white, sterile walls, somewhere far away. Another police officer looked blankly at the space that they had just previously occupied, and then began to cry. Even in a state of distress, the Foundation worked efficiently. Intruder alarms began to blare the moment they appeared, and within minutes they were apprehended by armed guards and escorted into an interrogation room, where they were soon joined by the director.
Sir, this woman says she has information about the ongoing anomaly and that she can help us. She says she's from the Wanderer's Library.
Serpent's hand.
Not everyone from the library is with the hand. I'm a wordsmith, a peacekeeper within the library.
Then what are you doing here? The library has never expressed interest in our matters before.
The gradual collapse of your universe is causing ways connected to it to explode within the library. People are dying. You don't know, do you? Do you at least know what caused this? When did this start?
It was when we killed that thing in Neptune.
What thing?
A god. We found it sleeping inside Neptune, and we had evidence that it was about to wake up. The O5s didn't want to risk it and see what would happen, so they ordered it to be killed. We did it. We actually killed a god. Shot a hole through its heart and saw it disintegrate. Then immediately after, all of this started happening.
Mason let out a loud, desperate exclamation as she felt her stomach drop. She sat on the floor and buried her face as the familiar feeling of the room spinning returned. Her hands got cold and wet as tears ran from her eyes.
You killed a creation god.
The god responsible for the creation of a universe is called a creation god. Their essence is fundamentally woven into the very fabric of their universe. If they die, that fabric begins to unravel. The thought of the serpent, the creation god of the Wanderer's library, dying caused violent shivers to run down her spine. Voice and body shaking, she got up.
I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do for you. I know what I must do.
In the blink of an eye, she was back at the fountain. Pushing aside her fear and anxiety, she slipped into the fountain with determination. She whistled again and allowed herself to be swallowed by the way. This time, she didn't take the time to stabilize it. She didn't need to go all the way. As she carried herself through the way, a tunnel made of brilliant blue light, she reached out with her mind once again. This time, it didn't go far. It reached down, plunging her within as it entered the world of concepts. With all of her might, she grabbed the concept of herself as tightly as she could and began to pull. Her body writhed and changed, losing cohesiveness, as if it was being stripped of its cosmic identity. The concept screamed, attempting to keep hold of whatever aethic thread connected it to the physical representation, to keep it from losing its meaning. Its struggles were futile because Mason was stronger. With a few strong pulls of her mind, the concept was separated. Mason had broken into 3 parts. Her soul untethered to anything, floating within the cosmic background noise. Her concept, stripped of meaning, hung in the world of concepts, losing cohesiveness and slowly fading out of reality. Her body, nothing but a pile of flesh, held together and maintained with physical reality through subsidiary concepts. The concepts of flesh, the concept of a corpse, and so on. These parts were reduced to 2, as the way pulled taut between realities, couldn't handle the tension anymore and snapped, instantly plunging the remains of Mason's body into the void between realities, where it was instantly vaporized. Finally, the parts become one once again, as Mason's mind and soul slipped into the concept. As a container, the concept was nothing compared to an actual body. It had no real form, and it kept sliding and shifting uncomfortably, like a blanket cover that was too big for the blanket itself. In addition, it was bleeding. Untethered to existence, it became less and less real by the second. There was not much time. The concept of Mason had slipped into the void between realities, a brilliant web of ways connecting millions of dimensions. It shimmered in colors that defied explanation or ways of comprehension. Shades and lights that humans' eyes were never meant to see. It looked like a broken mirror, with cracks going on for eternity. A sundown that never ceased but was shifting in constant hues. And an impossibly large tree that went up and down forever, with innumerable branches that held innumerable apples all at once. Some of the apples were large and supple, some were small, and others tasteless, while some were rotten to the core. The concept of Mason began to do what it came here to do. If it had a back, it would have put it up against the trunk of the tree, and if it had feet, it would have set it against an apple. Then it would have began to push. Non-existing tentacles whipped out from it as they were integrated themselves into the concepts of the two worlds and began to push and to pull. The apple was soft, and its surface began to crack. Lines of web and branches were pulled taut and separated from the tree, but not broken. The void groaned. A low rumble pulsed through the space, caused by a domino effect of vibrating strands of web. Slowly, the apple began to get further, its stem getting looser. At the same time, the concept of Mason bled profusely. It was now less than half real. It began to push harder, harder than it ever had before. If it had a mouth, a voice, it would have screamed. Then, the stem snapped. The apple dropped, disconnected from the tree. It folded into itself an infinite amount of times before exploding in a wave of brilliant, multicolored lights that embedded themselves within the other apples, like seeds taking refuge. But Mason wasn't there to see it. In fact, Mason was nowhere at all.
Guys?
So you're telling me that the Foundation saw something waking up in Neptune, and rather than try and understand it, they just killed it? And nearly destroyed an entire universe? They killed a god because they didn't know what they were dealing with?
Exactly. They didn't understand it, and they feared what it would be, so they destroyed it. That's the pattern. Control at any cost, even if it's the cost of everyone else.
Guys!
It's reckless. It's part of the Great Searing. It wasn't just one scar, but many. There's a clear organization to blame.
So, you're saying that this could happen again?
If the Foundation gets its way, absolutely.
Guys! Mars just wandered off following a trail of chocolate bars!
Why didn't you tell us sooner?
They wandered off just near the end of the story. I tried telling you. I think they went towards the South Stacks.
Well, this is going to be fun.
Okay, come on. Let's go find them. As we close, I'd like to give a shout out to everyone who made this show possible. For voice actors, that's Peach, who played the role of Rowan, Kit, who played the role of Ani, Moss, who played the role of Mars, Echo, who played the role of Wordsmith Mason, and John and Taya, who played the role of the officer and the site director, respectively. I'd also like to give credits to the author Cerberus, who wrote the story we read, Singed Books and Broken Worlds, from the SCP Wiki. Finally, I'd like to thank Kevin MacLeod, who produced all the music you heard in this episode. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good one.